Shout out to S Mac. What up, YouTube? Welcome to another episode of Kev Mac Video Profiles. Today I'll be profiling the big homie, William Still Bill Smith, also known as the West Side Bandit and the Counter Jumper, one of the most prolific bank robbers in Los Angeles in 1986.
Kane videos.
I give a bone, Lord, you know what I'm saying? Cruising down the street in my city car. Oh, I hit front, back, side to side.
For my love, my dog, the pimp, the hog.
Check it out.
Khakis, dope, sweatshirt, and low soul.
That was it. I never stopped banging. I started banging hard, then I got so hard till it was a shame.
Bill's father, William T. Smith II, was a World War II veteran born in the state of Texas in 1924. He enlisted in the Army in 1943 when Japan invaded Pearl Harbor. So he was part of the era when America dropped nuke bombs on Japan. He returned home when the war ended September 2nd, 1945, and began working for the U.S. Post Office in 1950. Bill's mom was born in the state of Arkansas, and in 1950, she moved to Los Angeles on the east side on East 33rd Street in the Low Bottoms. She would eventually hook up with Bill's pops, and they got married in 1955. 3 years later, they would move to the west side, landing at 6122 Cimarron Street. That's when little Billy was born on April 20th, 1958. William grew up between 62nd Street and the railroad tracks. His family briefly moved to 41st and Broadway before moving to Rempart Boulevard. They landed right behind Buddha Market in 1965 after the Watts riot, making them one of the first black families to move in this part of the neighborhood, just 7 minutes away from where he grew up on Cimarron. Bill had a lot of friends in the neighborhood, including some from the Harlem Crips. He also ran with T-Bone, Rip, Quinn, Quincy, Squally D, Rick, Mario, Greg Montgomery, Big Cat, Pinky, Keepstone, Skull, Keith Spencer, Willis Vaughn, Bucky, and Baby Warlock. He was in the 4th grade when he checked into 54th Street Elementary School. Then he attended Webster Junior High School and Crenshaw High School in 1972. This is when Bill became affiliated with the West Side Crips. Still Bill and a couple of his close partners, they broke the stereotype of uneducated black kids. Still Bill, Squally Davis, and Chucky Madison all excelled in school when they went to school as honor students. Bill didn't make it through his first year of high school without being suspended. Then in '73, summertime, his partner Chucky Madison was shot. At that point, Chucky went to YTS, and Still Bill started hanging with Squally Davis, his second Crip influence. He checked into Hamilton High School in '73, but then he got busted with his father's .45 caliber pistol. His father possessed a lot of handguns and machine guns from his days in the Army. Bill was put on expulsion, so he had to attend Fairfax High School in February 1974, only to be put out again in March. He missed the entire 11th grade, so he had to repeat 11th grade. He went to Mark Carmel on 71st and Hoover in September of '74, only to be put out in December 1974. Mount Carmel Senior High School, located in South Los Angeles, was a historic Catholic high school over 50 years ago. When they knocked it down, they built Mount Carmel Park, which in the 1980s became a central war zone for the Hoovers and the Menlo Gangster Crips. Quoting a 1987 news article printed in the LA Times, although the park itself has had few gang-related problems, it is in the area contested by two rival gangs, the Menlo Gangster Crips and the Hoover Crips, area residents said. Bill comes from a background of parents and grandparents full of educators. His mom became a nurse and substitute teacher at the schools, and his dad became the dean of Gompers Junior High School. He got lucky and got put back in LA Unified School District in February 1975 and was able to attend Dorsey High School. So it was only right that they continued to force education upon their son. Although Dorsey is located near the jungle, Bill had some friends at Dorsey, Ronnie Iceberg and his sister Dee Dee, and Todd Madison of the Magnificent Seven. Todd's older brother Chucky was a member of the Magnificent Seven and first cousins to the Bells, and his baby brother Blue, a member of the Rollin 60s. Blue's cousin Machine Gun Rusty would eventually become a member of the A-Tray Gangster Crips. Bill and Todd were said to be close friends, but Chucky Madison and Pop Squally was Bill's Crip influence. As you can see from this map, Chucky lived down the street across Crenshaw on 2nd Ave, and Squally D lived just a block and a half away.
Let me tell you my story about Still Bill. Called him Billy. See, he was an educator. His father was a school teacher. And he was best friends with my cousin Todd. So as I was recruiting my cousins and them on 2nd Avenue, we lived around the corner from Big Swig. So the alley just separated the houses. So I'd be in the backyard. I done already got in arguments with Swig and them. So my cousins know that I'm down. They know Swig could kick my ass because he's way older than me, but I argue with him. So they were like, damn, keeps arguing with Swig. So I went in the backyard, so he brings Bill over. And I said, where you from? He said, I ain't from nowhere. I'm Todd's friend. And I said, it's all right. I said, so how you doing? Could you hit some iron? He said, yeah. He out bench pressed me. I was mad as fuck. I was like, shit, this dude out bench pressed me. I don't believe it. Put another one on. He did it again. I was like, all right, this dude could out bench press me. So I said, all right. He said, I'm going to hang with you. So he would hang with me a little bit at school because that's when I was taking Crenshaw over. So he would hang around. I said, this little dude is down. So I see he ain't scary. So I'm like, okay, I started liking him.
In 1972, Bill started claiming Westside Crip. That quickly evolved to Westside Neighborhood Crip. And after the merger with the Rollin 60s, roughly around 1974-75, Bill started claiming Westside Neighborhood Rollin 60 Crip. Bill also went through several name changes. He was most known as Shitty Smitty.
Then we had the cats on the other side of Slauson. Montgomery's, the Pentlands, we had Smitty.
In the early 70s, Smitty started calling himself Baby Mouse, not to be mistaken with the infamous Motor Mouse, who lived just a little further up the hill. OG Cutes and the homies thought he was so cool, so strong, and so sharp that they gave him a new nickname, Still Bill. And so he became known as Still Bill. Like so many youth in the inner city, Bill found himself stuck between patterning himself after his parents or the Crips. The influence of the Crips stuck so hard, Bill chose to get his cripping on instead of an education. He started working out and lifting weights and robbing jewelry stores. Then he found himself in Camp Fenner in 1975, where he met one of the founders of the 60s, Babyface. He got out in 76 and went to YTS in 77. He got out in 79 and went back to prison in 79.
So years later, he started hustling. I'm in the joint already. He's making money. I mean, he's knocking some shit off. He's rolling around, you know. And just like Davis, he knocks the baddest broad. First, I'm sorry, Doug. He knocked a Ram cheerleader. So what could I say? He knocks the Ram cheerleader. And he not only knocks the Ram cheerleader, he knocks Leah, the one who sung the song about, you know, that big ass fucking King Kong. And she said, I didn't mean to turn you on. He knocked her. So Still Bill had Mac.
The new Vanguard had just sprung up in 1978 at the Dual Vocational Institution in Tracy, California. It was then he was introduced and indoctrinated by the Vanguard in Tracy Prison. This new group of Vanguards opposed the revolutionary politics and the severe methods used by the BGF to purge its ranks. Several hardcore Crip gang members got together and decided the BGF was playing favoritism to the Bloods, so they declared war against the BGF in Folsom. Although the Vanguard consisted of mostly Crips, they also had Bloods within the ranks, and in 1981, in Folsom, California, the BGF got their first kill. The violence followed Bill from Tracy to Folsom, and now it was time for Still Bill to experience San Quentin in the early 80s. So you caught the case in 82. What year did you get to prison?
1983.
Okay, 83. Was CCO up and running when you got there?
Yes, sir. CCO was the powers that big when I got there.
Was Blue Notes out yet?
Not at all.
Bill quickly moved up in the ranks of the Vanguard to sergeant and some say lieutenant. Bill was in San Quentin State Prison when the CCO formed, and now he had to go to war with the BGF and the CCO because the Vanguards believed CCO was working up under the BGF and carrying out their orders.
It was the brain trust of those individuals that thought that CCO was a revolutionary operation, was a puppet, was basically a puppet regime of the BGF, whether that being true or not. This is the propaganda that's being dispersed to me at the time, and that's being dispersed by big homies, and I mean homies I respect.
This put Bill in a very compromising position because when he went to prison, all Crips on the street got along. Now he had to go to war against not only the Crips that he grew up with, but Crips from his own hood. Smitty had to stay shitty, and Bill had to keep a piece of steel. So would you consider yourself that second wave of Crips to hit the penitentiary?
No doubt about it. I'm second generation Crip, period. And I was a second generation that hit them yards. And what came behind me was a whole bunch of, the second generation is what inundated the yards. Because the first generation that came through with, of course, rumors is, I never talked to Raymond personally about it, but that the BGS, had some issues with what he was doing out here. And he stayed true to this blue, Heard he had a little friction with him. And basically, the first generation that was coming in behind him, the homies, some of the homies, down homies, and I ain't gonna say no names, but the first generation going into prisons, they were turned into Vanguards, Black Coats, BGS, period. It was second generation came through there that kept that Crip and Crip, you see what I'm saying, against all that. And yeah, we went toe to toe with all of those above individuals. Now the Black Coats was Bloods and Crips, from what I understand. They were eliminated. They were gone when I got to prison, but I got a homeboy that was a Black Coat, so I know a little about it.
Here go a quote from Bill himself while he was locked up in the 2000s. Cuse knows me as Shitty. Been knowing him since the 10th grade, and we were in YTS, Tracy, and San Quentin together too. That was the last time I seen him, about 1982-83. We were on the same tier in the shoe.
Still Bill brought my gang banging in prison up to a level that it had never been. And he told me, we were in San Quentin on the 5th tier, and he said, Cutes, they about to send you back to, we're in the hole, he said, they about to send you back to Folsom. And when you go back to Folsom, I want you to bring the new funk. And I says, all right, Bill. He says, now pass that 8-track over here through the tray slot. I said, here. He pulls it in on the rope. He kept it all night. And now they come in the next morning to pack my property. So I give my property to Nakasisa, BGF. Nakasisa gets my property. He packs it all up. They take it down to R&R. And I get to Folsom. He told me don't open up the Kite and try to get the fossil. So I get my kite out, open it up. He wrote me a big ass kite. And he was telling me how he loved me and how I'm the coolest brother he ever ran into, and that I got heart, and that he wouldn't mind dying beside me in battle. And I teared up a little, and I ain't no crying ass sentimental motherfucker. But that gave me some good feeling. I needed that feeling. And I read the kite. He said, now, I want you to open up your radio. They put that red shit on there, so when you open it up, they're going to know it's been opened. So I don't want you to open that radio until you're ready to use what I put in it. And what I put in it is a man stopper. So I know what he put in it now. And I said, okay, cool. So
When Bill paroled from the California Department of Corrections in 1985, he had damn near 10 years straight under his belt. Now known as a Vanguard in prison and a jewelry store robber on the streets, Bill turned to robbing banks. During Bill's early days of robbing jewelry stores, his crimees often referred to him as Billy the Kid because of his exploits for stealing and the will to gunsling during robberies. He didn't need no crimees when he robbed banks. Only crimee he needed was a getaway driver. Bill admitted to getting caught up in the fast life. The fancy cars, the money, the jewelry, the women. He eventually got strung out on drugs. The bank robbery stopped for a few months, and then Bill got back cracking, robbing more banks in less than a year than a lot of bank robbers rob in a lifetime. It was estimated that Bill ran through over $2 million in a little over a year on the streets. Bill became known to the FBI as the West Side Counterjumper. He was responsible for 18 bank robberies along the San Diego freeway. He was known to enter the bank with his gun in his hand and vault the teller counter, terrorizing both bank employees and customers.
you know, that's the last time I seen Bill. But I was reading the newspaper. I was in the cell with Lavelle Player, who we opened up a hole down here in Tehachapi. And we're looking at the news, and we see that they called him the West Side Bandit, and that they had locked him up.
Eventually, Bill and his wife Bonita would be arrested while driving away from LA International Airport. Bill would spend less than a year in the LA County Jail fighting state crimes before going off to the MDC and ending up in federal prison from 1988 to 2020. Bill spent practically 44 years of his life in prison before paroling and passing in 2020. Again, I want to give a shout out to S Mac for helping me out with this, but I cannot go on without saying Still Bill laid out the blueprint for this story. Bill gave me the information for his profile before he passed. Rest in peace, big homie.
This is Rollin.